You know, what they're saying at the moment is that people are lacking in, reading, writing, and like mathematics. The skills that people are really lacking in, and they're saying that we're below average or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're declining. And, people don't need those skills to be a
YouTuber,
or a sports star, or a rapper or an influencer. You don't need any of those skills.
That's like hitting the nail on the head, man.
So you can see why that's declining, because that's not what people are shooting for.
Absolutely.
You look at a teacher in Christchurch who was fired for,
Yeah.
not using the correct pronouns for what a student wanted to be called. And it's like, people are getting fired over that, and the education system is worried about that. But is any teachers getting fired because your kid is failing math?
Honestly, that's where the
getting fired
issues
because
are, bro.
you can't
That's
read?
so relevant.
No one's bringing up those issues in the newspaper or the headlines saying, my kid didn't get taught how to do math, so this teacher should be fired.
All right, bro. So we're on to another relevant subject. I suppose we've both been through school, so to think that, parents are concerned about the state of education in the country is not surprising. I suppose it's surprising that it's now relevant to us because once upon a time we didn't care. But it's certainly a big contentious issue for the elections at the moment, because people really want to know, how can the government make a difference with the education system? So I've got an article here, and it says, children in New Zealand left rudderless by failing education system. And this was written by an expert, Dr. Michael Johnston, Education HQ. And so it says, for more than 2 decades, the literacy and numeracy achievement of our young people has been declining. The downward trend is clear in both our national monitoring data and international tests like PISA. We have an appalling truancy problem. Some of this is attributable to disruption during the pandemic, but disengagement from education has been increasing well before COVID struck. So it's like nothing new. So, bro, you went to school here. I only did 6th form, 7th form here. So, obviously, kids not being interested in school, the scores not being the highest, has been around for ages. And I think you are quite the academic, bro. So tell us about it. What's the secret, man?
I'm exposing myself.
What does the government need to learn from you?
It's ironic that this has been brought up now. It probably gets brought up in every election, but, since I was at school, no one really cared about my education. I'm thinking back to it now, because I went to school and I was only there because I was mainly focused on playing rugby. So I would just go to school to, see your mates and play rugby. That was it. But I never cared about my education, and neither did my teachers.
Yeah.
They didn't give a hoot about what I was doing in the classroom. So I don't think it's any different today than it was, back when I was at high school. I don't really see any difference. So, yeah, I don't know about your experience when you came here, but no one really cared about my education in terms of my teachers when I was here at school.
So you kind of just roll along and it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously Zimbabwe was it was the be all and end all, education was more important to parents than anything else because there's so much poverty there. So people feel like education is your key out of poverty. And so, yeah, I worked hard at school. I didn't have mums or dads or teachers chasing after me. I really did work hard. It was sort of drummed into me that, okay, you're going to get us out of poverty. When I came here, it was 6th form. I was determined to do well, and then I got with the wrong crowd. They were into wagging, and we would wag and go to Oakley Creek, jump off the waterfall. People would wag and go smoke weed. People just didn't really care. People were more interested in having fun, and I suppose that's maybe the crowds that I was in. But the stats are saying that it's not just me and you. It's saying that it's across the board. So obviously the mindset must be permeating everyone else, that people are just not really interested. I'm just thinking, I was more interested in making friends and having fun than what my high school scores were.
Same, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do you fix that then? What would you have done? Or are there phases where you thought, okay, I'm going to take it seriously now? Or is it just that your goals were not connected to what you were learning?
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. But for me, like my goals, weren't connected to, sitting in a classroom and trying to learn, but of course for other people it would have been because they had aspirations of doing this, and, I was trying to play rugby and that's what I wanted to do. So, yeah, looking back on it now, I wish I had spent more time, focusing on my education, because at the end of the day, playing rugby, chasing a ball, like it's not, it's not what I thought it was, and it's really not. It's not a big deal when you think about it. So I wish I had spent more time doing that. So yeah, I think it depends where people are aligned at, whatever their goals are. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the goals thing probably resonates a lot because, you're kind of driven by what you're aiming for, and if you're aiming for rugby and you're having to sit all day, like if they got you kicking a ball all day, running around, you would be fully engaged. Yeah. Like when it was break time and sports, bro, all the boys were like, this is what I'm here for. And, I think back, see, I was the same, especially in high school. I wanted to be a sprinter. I made it to nationals and it was like, whoa, I could actually be something here. And so I pursued athletics. I went to uni. I left uni with the intent of pursuing athletics so I could get a $13,000 Prime Minister scholarship. So then, I wouldn't have to pay through uni. But to be honest, I was far more enticed by athletic success than university success. I was really not engaged. And there were so many perks. I was sponsored. I was getting money. And I wasn't owing anyone anything, So it was like this side was super rewarding, the glory of winning a race. And even though I had no big picture perspective, it certainly was a greater goal than it was for me to pursue engineering, which I was at uni for. And so I gravitated towards that, and even though I also, like you, wish I had put more time into it, but really, I was just having more rewards from athletics, and it was just difficult to force myself to pursue something when I really actually didn't know what I wanted to do for real. I really didn't know on the academic side, but with athletics, it was straightforward. And it's like, okay, just get in the gym, go run, and instant results.
I think that's what a lot of especially the generation now are looking at, like, people are watching YouTube and sports and all this stuff, so they're aspiring to do that.
Exactly.
Like, I want to be a famous sports star. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be someone...
An Instagram influencer.
It was something really hard to aim for there, man. But, that's honestly what people want. Yes. Because it's fun.
Totally.
It might be a bit easier if it comes natural to you.
Absolutely.
And stuff. It's a bit easier than having to work hard, I guess, for something else to get a degree, to be a doctor or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what people are looking at more now. Those are the things that people are really setting their sights on.
Totally.
So I guess, people's goals in school have changed a lot.
Yeah. It's interesting. You think of, I see a lot of farms for sale, and a lot of the parents, that generational heritage of, grandfather was a farmer. And our generation, they don't want to take over the farm. It's like, nah, you can sell the farm because they don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
They don't relate to that kind of lifestyle. They want to be in the city where the action is, be influences where the people are. And so it's like, 5-6 years to be a doctor. It's like, yeah, I want to, but the work involved, people are choosing the path of least resistance, and I think that's it for most of us. It's like the least amount of struggle to get to your goals, and if you can have fun doing that. People want a dream job. I think everyone's got this romantic fantasy of my dream job, where I'll just be having fun and it won't feel like a job. And that influences their attitude towards school because it's very repetitive. And you're just sitting in there all day, every day, just doing the same thing over and over again. And I'd much rather do what I really want to do.
Yeah, it's like the easiest route to get the most reward.
Yeah.
It's like that's pretty much what everyone's chasing. And that's what those lifestyles of an influencer or a sports star.
Totally, bro. MTV Cribs, man. Come into my life, Cribs. Reality TV.
Bro, how old are you?
Bro, and you're thinking like, bro, the time it's going to take to just slog and save and get to the top that way. Whereas get rich quick, I just make some music or become a YouTuber. bro, it seems so much more promising, or become a sports star. Plus, you get famous in the process, you know.
And what they're saying at the moment is that people are lacking in reading, writing, and like mathematics. The skills that people are really lacking in, and we're they're saying that we're below average or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're declining, and people don't need those skills to be a
YouTuber,
or a sports star, or a rapper or an influencer. You don't need any of those skills.
That's like hitting the nail on the head, man.
So you can see why that's declining, because that's not what people are shooting for
Absolutely.
anymore. Yeah.
In fact, it totally bypasses all the hassle for spending 13, 20 years of your life in school, when from any age you can become a YouTuber and get paid, And I'm saying because my kids are like dreaming of becoming YouTubers, and it's the elephant in the room that everyone is ignoring. I think that's really at the heart of it. So maybe while we're on this topic, before we move on to the next one, I suppose, when you were in school, how much time did you spend on your phone or watching TV?
I'm gonna expose myself how
the truth's coming
how
out.
old I am.
Vodafone free text on the weekend.
Yeah, I always remember that. I used to take mum's phone so I could text girls on the weekend.
Right, I didn't want telecom because it was only 500 texts max. Yeah.
But honestly, like when I was at high school, like I think like sixth or seventh form, it might have been when like Facebook really started coming in and stuff, So like we weren't on social media. There was no TikTok, Instagram, any of that stuff. Facebook had just come. We were on Bebo, remember that?
and Messenger.
Yeah. MSN.
High five, yeah.
See, that was the stuff that we had then, but you had to be on your computer really to do it. So I didn't spend that much time on social media. Like when I was at high school, I was out with mates or you were playing sports or doing something like that. I didn't have my phone like I was, but now I find myself on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
But back then I wasn't, you know? Yeah.
Plus we had dial-up, bro, so even if you had internet, it's like
Well,
buffering. It's like,
people don't even know the struggles, man. Kids
they don't know the hassle,
man.
The struggle. So, I think the amount of time being spent on media is what's shaping people's goals, because that's how they're living their life.
Yes.
I'm living my life online, and so I only see my future online. Whereas if I was living my life in reality, then I can kind of see my future in the everyday life that everyone else has lived, But it's shaping their dreams, their goals, their interests. Like, people can watch YouTube all day, TikTok all day, and be quite content with that,
It's funny because most people who have become big on those platforms are like, man, I didn't like school, or like, I didn't want to do this, and, now I've made it here doing this. So they give, like, these are the aspirations people shoot for, because they're like, that person wasn't interested in school. They didn't care about the education. They have to struggle for that. But, they got it because they were grinding for whatever it was.
Yeah.
So people like, it gives them hope that could be also their lifestyle,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I suppose some people are catching on to it, because I know National and the United Nations, I heard, are kind of talking about banning phones.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to fix the problem, because I think it's society as a whole, not just children in schools, adults all across the board. People are kind of living their lives, on phones. So much so that you can go and see people on a date, and yet they're on their phones or messaging each other on their phones. So we're living our lives through devices. And so, how do you fix that at its core, unless people's interests are completely changed? People's way of life has changed. I don't think you can just expect it to just change overnight, and then people all of a sudden back to books.
Yeah.
Actually, that's another thing. We in Zimbabwe used to study books. People used to read hard copy books. Now, your Bible, your whatever, your study is all online. And while you're doing that, I actually struggled heaps, and I think I said it in another video, that I'm trying to study my assignment, and I'm not used to the internet, and then bing, 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 you've won $1 million, or some half-naked girl pops up on this side. It's like, bro, maths or...
it's like the girl.
Choices, bro. That's the nature of the environment of the internet, that you're wrestling with multiple distractions. And while you're doing that, someone's texting you, beep, beep, you get a notification. It's like, how do you concentrate, Whereas a book, it was like, sorry, no messages coming in here, And so because that's the way we're learning, That's just what's happening.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's going to be a whole taking phones out of schools is not really going to do it.
It's not going to.
It's just society is molded this way now, so it's just
Everywhere
the way
you
things are
turn.
going.
Yeah.
But what so we talk about what people are doing, what kids are doing, families, whatever. But what is going on, in the schools themselves? I think what's happening there that is also contributing to the decline in education.
Yeah. Ah, I see what you're doing here. Okay, so this is another elephant in the room, but it's a sensitive spot. But the reality is, it's not uncommon that students, and you watch heaps of videos online, of students being taught about the whole gender identity and sexuality. Sex education is kind of being discussed or considered to be started at 5 years old. And so you think to yourself, it's like, whoa, why are schools so swallowed up with sex education and sexual identity and the whole gender ideology? Because, there's the story in Whangarei of the students that identified as a cat, and it was taken to the principal to have litter trays for the student. And I'm thinking, like, adults, the teachers are totally engaging this and affirming it in the school instead of saying, oh, actually, by the way, schools are not designed for cats. So if you're a cat, I think you're in the wrong place. Like, straight up, I think you're in the wrong place. And so if you want cat rights, we offer none at this school. Actually, we don't allow students to come with pets here. So, sorry, please take your cat back home. Problem solved. No more issues, because we don't have cat toilets and we don't do litter trays. And actually, we don't invest in books for cats either. And we don't speak meow. But the teachers are tolerating it, so they'll feed into this idea and then sort of be swallowed up with the children's emotions because you're not affirming me as a cat. And it's like, I'm not here for that. I'm not here to pander to your emotions. That's your parent. I'm here to try and give you the best future that you can have, to teach you maths, reading, and writing. And then you will be equipped for the future that the world has for you.
Yeah, it's so because teachers and all these people play into whatever people are saying. I want to be a cat, and they play into it. Then it becomes part of what the school system does, what the education system does. Because if anyone speaks against it, you get cancelled, you can get fired. All these things. It said the principal had to take leave because they were so distressed about this issue.
Too hard
of the
to
cat,
deal with.
The girls trying to be cats, and you look at a teacher in Christchurch who was fired for not using the correct pronouns for what a student wanted to be called, and it's like people are getting fired over that, and the education system is worried about that. But is any teachers getting fired because your kid is failing math?
Honestly, that's where the issues
fired because you can't read?
So relevant.
No one's bringing up those issues in the newspaper or the headlines saying, my kid didn't get taught how to do math, so this teacher should be fired.
Where's the accountability, for the
that.
actual standards that matter in school?
But we're worried about, you didn't call me he or she. It's like that is what education is coming to now.
Totally.
And this is why there's a decline in these things, because there's no focus on that. It's more about, we've got to be sensitive to teach. Do you want to be a boy? Do you want to be a girl? Do you want to be an animal?
Yes.
These sort of issues
Are you bi? Are you straight?
Yeah.
Are you queer? Are you gay?
It's like we've got awareness weeks for all of this stuff, days for that.
Months for this gender, sexual thing. And it's like, bro, whoever came to school and it's like, oh, Trent, how's it going, bro? My name's Clayton and I'm gay. It's like, bro, who cares? I don't care what you do in your private space.
Gold star for you, man.
Yeah, cool story, bro. But why is sexuality such a big deal? Like, who cares whether you're straight or whatever? It's like kids aren't interested in who you sleep with anyway. If you want to do that, go do that. That's not what the schools were started for,
I think that's a problem with the education system, is because they're focusing more on that than actually educating people for what they need for the skills when they get out into the real world.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably one of the contributing factors for the decline in students. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And the ones that really want to learn reading and writing, okay, make it so that they can thrive, because the rest of those that aren't interested, they want to be sports players, they're not interested in it anyway. So it's not a matter of changing the curriculum or whatever. It's like, okay, maybe open opportunities for them to pursue their goals. The ones that want to be carpenters, that want to be plumbers, they want to be tradies. It's like open an avenue for them to just go and start getting their hands dirty because they can't be bothered sitting all day and doing nothing. And then don't worry about them. You know, they're on their way. And then leave sexuality to people's private life, you know?
Yeah.
Bro.
I agree.
Straight talk facts, bro. Yeah. I think, you know, I think my wife was telling me while at uni, while we're on the subject of teachers, that, you know, they would have group assignments at university because they don't really want to do tests, exams. Okay, sit, here's what I've learned. So they do group assignments, and so often, like more often than not, she would be frustrated, like, you know, 2 members of the group are doing nothing, but they're getting rewarded with an A, and actually they didn't put any work. So now, how many of the teachers that are in the classrooms are not proficient at maths, are not proficient at English, are bad at spelling, and they're just depending on the teacher's answer book? They're actually not passionate about it. It's just a career. So then it's like, you don't even have a passion for it. It's just a job. You're not proficient in maths. You're not proficient in English and writing and reading. You're not interested in books. You're also spending your spare time scrolling, but you want the kids to spend their spare time reading, because all those people who just scooch through without really putting in an effort, they're going to become teachers that just do the same in the classroom. And so what do you expect?
It's just a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle, bro.
No one's learning anything.
No one's learning anything, you know?
It's like the blind leading the blind.
The blind leading in the blind, and all falling into the ditch, you know? So there's really no quick fix that the government can address in this reality, because I think you definitely need the home. And you definitely need some sort of vetting of the teachers themselves on the things that matter. Because, I mean, like you're saying, it's a deep point. And I don't think anyone's ever raised it, that teachers are being vetted on this student engagement, or whether the teachers addressed you by your pronoun versus actually, are you accomplishing the tasks that we're hiring you for? Yeah, because they've replaced, you know, there used to be elements of education that had to do with morality, because, you know, you think, okay, in the real world, your ethics matter, you know, how you treat people matter, you know, how you carry yourself matter. So learning that in school has a place. So that's why they had the Bible in school, because, okay, it taught people to respect their bosses, you know, to be hardworking, to respect their parents, to respect their teachers, you know, all of that kind of moral stuff that carries on into the workplace was taught in the school. But they've said, okay, let's take out all this moral stuff and let's replace it with sexual education, because this is more necessary in life. Go figure. You know, like, what's actually going to benefit you more in the long term? Morals from the Bible, you know, or sex education? What has a part to play in your maths and your English and reading? At least the Bible you get to read.
Yeah, I mean, like, do I need to be told, educated on if I'm a boy or a girl? You know, it's like,
if you don't know that when you're coming to
if
school,
you don't know that, I mean, like, why is that part of education? You know, when I was at school, you know, I remember Christian education used to be a thing, you know, so I remember that. And like you said, morality has been taken out of schools now, and they're replacing with the sex education, gender identity stuff. So it's like, we don't want to push morality on people. We don't want people to have good morals, really. But we want to bring in a teaching of, you know, be whatever you want. You can decide if you want to be a cat one day, if you want to be a boy or a girl, whatever. You know, and that's more important than building a foundation of having a good person.
Absolutely.
A good person in society, which is what moral standards are, you know.
Absolutely.
Taught from the Bible.
It can get you a job.
Exactly.
You know, the way you carry yourself is like, okay, that's actually beneficial. But it's been scrapped for this sort of gender ideology. And to what end, you know?
Yeah. It feels like, I feel sorry for kids, actually. I mean, grow up at school at the moment, you know, I'm thinking, and even in that society, you know, going through that. But yeah, what hope do we have for kids growing up to then become, you know, the teachers and people of the future in high positions, high workplaces, if they don't have any moral foundation. There's no building blocks to stand on a strong foundation, because I don't have to answer to anyone because I don't have any morals.
Absolutely.
I can change whoever I want to be on any given day. You know?
Absolutely. And, I kind of work as a junior chaplain at a school, so I get to interact. My wife's a teacher, so the whole school environment, I'm quite familiar with it. Plus, her whole journey with studying to be a teacher. And, even in a Christian school, which I highly recommend a Christian school, but even in a Christian school, they're having issues with behavioral management, that the teacher is trying to teach, but most of the time is just disruptions after disruptions because kids are just running amok in there. And the teacher is like, okay, what am I going to do? Like the teacher can't restrain students that are acting out. And so they're disrupting the class. And so now the school must get extra funding to get someone specifically because the child who's acting a fool gets diagnosed with, some special condition. Okay. Well, unfortunately, because there's accommodation for everyone's little nuance now, and as long as I've got a diagnosis, so then I can get a special aid to help me. And then the overall environment of the class is difficult to concentrate on education because, we're trying to learn here, and then this child's popping off on a tangent over there, and that one's popping off on a tangent over there, and the teacher's got no measures in place in how to discipline them or restrain them. They can't actually do anything.
Yeah, you think about maybe when our parents were at school, like they would say if they did something wrong, they get the cane or you get smacked or something like that. Or you can't say that today. But you see, teachers have no ability to discipline at all because the kid could be like, oh, you hurt my feelings. What you said, I didn't like that, and can make a huge kerfuffle.
You can lose your job, bro.
And the teacher loses the job over that. So, teachers have no ability to do that.
Absolutely.
So, if you're looking at students in that way, because we're liberating kids to be whatever you want, do what you want. And really, people can complain about the government saying they need to be better on education. But what's happening in the homes?
Absolutely.
What are the parents doing to teach kids how to be morally good citizens, giving them a good, strong foundation and teaching them what's the right way to be? And those foundations, like we said, come from the Bible, the biblical principles.
Absolutely. Like teeny little kids like this are swearing. They're throwing F-bombs, S-bombs at teachers, at students. And it's like, what are we going to do? Nothing. Like, they can't do anything.
They really can't.
They can't. Yeah. So they've red-taped the teachers. They've red-taped the parents because parents with children that are misbehaving, it's like, bro, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
And, they're kind of being punished for those parents who were going overboard with their children. But the reality is, I was disciplined as a kid in Zimbabwe by teachers. And it was like, okay, I'm acting a fool. There's consequences. And I got the cane. It straightened me up. When I knew I was naughty, I knew, bro, I shouldn't have got caught, And there's never a hard feeling in my life where I'm thinking, man, they really abused us. It's like, bro, man, we were naughty. We were rebellious. We never listened. We were naughty. And so I knew that it was discipline. I knew it was necessary. But you can't expect the teacher to play the role of a parent and try and educate your child behavior, manners, sex, all of these things. And yet you don't give them the powers of a parent. So then it's like, it's a lose-lose for teachers. They're red-taped and they're feeling overworked. That's why there's endless strikes from teachers, because they're overworked because they're expected to be parents while they're just trained to be teachers. And it's like, you're not paying me enough, bro. You're going to pay me twice as much if I'm going to parent your child, Otherwise, I'm only trained to teach them maths, reading, writing, a little bit of science, and off you go home.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a big issue, man. Like, it's more than just one thing. Like
Totally.
you said, it comes down to, the government, teachers, parents, all the students.
Totally.
Society, it's a whole thing.
Totally.
But you see, the more that society goes away from God and these sort of biblical principles, this is the sort of messes that we're getting into.
Absolutely.
And it's just going to keep going further that way. What do we expect? The government's not going to come in and be able to solve anything, really.
They can't.
Because really, no one has any rights to do anything anymore because anything can offend anyone.
Yes.
And, if it offends you, you can complain. And
that's right. And I think that falls on the government then also, because they've taken away...
Yes, that's true.
Power from parents, taken away power from teachers. They've empowered the children, empowered the students. So they're calling the shots now. Yeah. And it's like, since when were the students calling the shots? And if they have the chance to dictate how learning is going to be, no work's going to get done.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what you expect. And I think what you said about the Bible, the home. Like, you can't expect to fix it from the top. It's going to have to be from the ground up. And the reality is that people are choosing a source of morality, and you're either going to get, okay, like this one, this is designed for teens. This is actually funded. I've got it here. It says The Real Sex Talk. So either you have the Bible, which teaches them good morality, good practices, even around sex. There's sex education in the Bible, but good sex education. It teaches them manners. It teaches them hard work, diligence as students. You know, Proverbs is all about learning and seeking knowledge. Or you have them as the sex experts of the future, bro. So we can have the best kind of future we need. You know, it's a matter of choice that they're choosing to replace what is good with the alternative. And these are the results of that. And so without a proper, stable, trusted foundation that made society better back in the day, there's nowhere to turn to.
That's the answer, man.
Facts. Enough said.
Are you always the third wheel? Guys only interested in tap and gap? Girls keep you friend zoned? You've tried Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, looking for connection only to be swiped left again and again, and the only match you get is a hit and run. You're looking to love and be loved, but you feel that without offering sex, no one would want you. You don't feel good enough, you have to be drunk or high to have fun, and you're sick of being fake and pretending just to fit in. Are these scenes and feelings familiar? Ask yourself this question. Where do you get your value and self-worth from? The number of likes and followers on social media? What other people think and say about you? Your looks, labelled brands, your status, the car you drive. If that sounds like you, you don't have to keep living a lie. Jesus said, "You will know the truth and the truth will set you free." The Bible is just that kind of book. Through a series of personal Bible studies, my faith, trust, and relationship in God has grown and developed. It's changed my life, helped pull me from addiction, and I know that it can change your life too.
My name's Trent.
And my name's Clayton, and we're Bible teachers here in Auckland.
You can sign up for free Bible studies right now. We can come out to you, or we can mail them to your address for free. Just drop us a private message below,
Or text us on 021 28 14612.